Was a Waukesha County family taken by a con man or just a bad businessman?
That's what the sheriff's department there is trying to figure out. CBS 58's David Aid has been digging for weeks and gets answers in tonight's special report.
I caught on to this from a court filing where a detective says a family paid a contractor more than $20,000. That contractor ripped off their roof in the middle of last winter, then never came back to finish the job. I did some digging and found other people who tell a similar story about the contractor who goes by Pastor Dave.
We don't want anybody else getting ripped off.
Yeah.
I mean, he stole money from us. Stole it.
Richard and Kate Yedis live outside of Fond du Lac. They're talking about David Ward, a man who they thought was a friend and a man who advertises himself as a contractor, an operator of a ranch for abused horses, and a pastor.
That's why I believe that he is a con artist, because he comes off as this extremely amazing guy, that he does all this charity work with these horses and animals.
So they hired his company, Man of Steel Roofing. The Yedis family paid Ward to put a roof on, but they say he only did some of the work and left the rest up to the family.
I mean, I had my brother and my dad pretty much and me put that whole roof on.
Patricia Bannon in Manitowoc County says she paid Ward thousands to replace her windows, but it never happened. She says Ward is a smooth talker.
Very good. Yeah, most people meeting him would believe him 100% if they didn't know better.
I took these accusations to Ward himself. He agreed to meet me in Fond du Lac this morning. I asked him if he uses the title of Pastor Dave to build trust so he can con people out of money.
It's not part of a con or a scam. It's just simply letting them know who I am.
Ward is currently working on a home in Fond du Lac. He took us inside to show what he's done.
We'll break even.
Okay.
It'll be a break
This is
even.
a break-even project.
Right. I'm doing it more to help her as a foster parent and help the kids than I am for money.
Now, both the Yedis family and Patricia Bannon took Ward to court. They were each awarded more than $10,000. Ward says he admitted in court he owes Bannon, but he says he did not show up to court in the Yedis case because it was a handshake deal between friends, and he didn't keep records to back up his story.
I guess the second reason I didn't is because I figured, you know, I'm just tired of this headache anyway. I don't plan on having my own business going much longer. I'm finishing up the jobs that I have currently on the books, but then I'm not going to be doing that anymore. I'm just done doing my own business.
But about 4 months after the judge ruled on that case, Ward wasn't done operating under his Man of Steel roofing business. According to this subpoena filed by a detective with the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department, a family in the town of Genesee hired him. Once again, it claims he stopped work halfway through the project.
But you did not put the roof on.
But we did not get the roof on, no. And we're working on that now. There are some disputes on it as well.
I asked Ward what happened to the money he was paid for that job.
Materials were purchased. Crews were paid.
Roughly $23,000, right?
Again, I'm not going to go into details at this time about that job.
Ward says he's never had any ill intentions.
Again, things just got really tough on us over the winter, and we're just now getting our legs under us again, and I'm trying to move forward and take care of all this stuff.
But until that happens, the Yedis family says, buyer beware.
It doesn't all make sense.
Right now, the Waukesha County Sheriff's Office can only tell us there is a criminal investigation into the Genesee claim. We also checked in with the Better Business Bureau, and they say if you are looking for a roofer, there are ways to protect yourself up front. Get 2 to 3 references, ask for proof the contractor is insured against claims, and make sure the contract has a start date and a completion date written into it. We've posted even more advice on our website, CBS58.com. In studio, David Aid, CBS 58 News.
Another family out thousands of dollars at the hands of a man who calls himself Pastor Dave.
Now, we first told you about this guy earlier this year. He even led us into one of his job sites. He's accused of cheating. And tonight, David Aid is here with yet another shocking case of contractor deception.
Since I first told you about Pastor Dave back in May, people around the state have called and emailed me with similar horror stories of dealing with this contractor. This one, just from last night. But there's a story in Mequon that has even some of Ward's other victims in shock.
I'm pretty angry. And I don't want other people to be stuck with this sort of situation.
The situation, World War II veteran Charlie Reed can't step out on his back porch.
Well, and I'm 90 now, and to be out there is about all I can do.
This is work left undone by David Ward, the Man of Steel contractor who calls himself Pastor Dave.
Howdy, folks. Pastor Dave here.
That's one of Pastor Dave's Facebook videos he calls Sermons from the Saddle. Ward also has a charity horse farm in Chilton, and he's a high-ranking official for the Fond du Lac Freemasons chapter.
Well, he's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. He's not living what he preaches.
In all, Ward took about 20 grand from the Reeds. He did some of the work he promised, but excuses piled up. Phone calls went unanswered, months went by, and Ward did not finish the job.
A person who calls himself Pastor Dave and then swindles you is kind of going against the title of Pastor Dave in my book.
A district attorney charged Ward with a misdemeanor. I was with the Reed family as they went to court to watch Ward make his initial appearance earlier this month.
Steve versus David Ward.
One problem, Ward didn't show.
Court will issue an arrest warrant.
I don't think he respects people, he doesn't respect the work he's done, and he doesn't even respect the court of law.
He's already lost a handful of civil cases and has been ordered to pay homeowners around the state more than $30,000, money they may never see. Because of this, we got a hold of a financial disclosure from another case showing Ward claims to have no significant assets, saying he lives below the poverty line and that Sweet Haven Ranch charity he runs, well, it's also in financial trouble according to this GoFundMe page. Ward was at the Sheboygan County Courthouse today trying to reopen one of those civil cases he lost. A judge quickly shut down that attempt, and when I tried to get a comment in the parking lot, Ward drove off. So I called his cell. Hello, Pastor Dave.
Yes.
It's David Aid from CBS 58. Hello? He hung up on me before having a lawyer call me saying he has no comment. The Reeds say Ward has nobody to blame but himself.
He could have finished the work and the whole thing would have gone away.
Ward was picked up on his warrant last Friday and is out on bond. He's scheduled back in Ozaukee County Court on November 15th. In the meantime, he's been ordered not to contact the Reeds. Barb Reed tells me tonight the deck by their house is still unusable and still looks this bad.
Contractor who calls himself Pastor Dave pleads not guilty to swindling local couples, and only CBS 58 News is there to confront him.
Pastor Dave, why the not guilty plea?
Excuse me, I don't think we have anything to say right now.
Why the not guilty?
CBS 58's David Aid has been trying for months to get Pastor Dave Ward's side of the story. Back then, we showed you the home of a World War II veteran left in shambles. He says Pastor Dave never followed through with what he promised, but some good Samaritans have emerged. Join us Friday here at 10 for an update that just might restore your faith. Local veteran's house left in shambles by a contractor who calls himself Pastor Dave. Tonight, a heartwarming update that may just restore your faith. Here's CBS 58's David Aid.
Remember this? Mequon resident Charlie Reed's porch all torn up. The World War II veteran not knowing where to turn, but CBS 58 News viewers stepped up big time, calling and emailing, asking how they can help, and they came together and righted Pastor Dave's wrong.
Well, you saw the mess.
We did. The porch was unusable.
To live with that every day, to work up and look out the window and see that, wonder what the hell am I going to do about it.
Last month, Charlie and Barb Reed shared their story. They hired and paid a guy who calls himself Pastor Dave. He tore up their porch, but then one day just stopped showing up.
My boss saw a little story on this. The TV people really brought this to light.
Last week, veterans from Stars and Stripes Honor Flights and JD Premier Construction gave their time and energy to rebuild the porch.
We wanted to provide this for him. You know, hey, he's served his country. And all he wants to do is just sit out on his deck.
The 90-year-old World War II veteran could not be more grateful.
It really meant so much for me.
I had no idea how I was going to get this, how we were going to get this fixed so we could use it.
Earlier this week, I wanted to see how Pastor Dave felt about those volunteers finishing his work. I chased him down after he pled not guilty to a misdemeanor charge relating to the Reed's case.
Charlie Reed and Barb Reed's porch was done by a bunch of volunteers, work that you didn't finish. What do you have to say to them?
He didn't have a comment.
I'll tell you, these people that take advantage of old people are just, ugh. It's a special place in hell for these clowns, that's for sure.
But thanks to those volunteers, Charlie can once again step on his porch. He can toss the tennis ball for his dog Bailey, and he can smile because he can just sit outside.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know what else to say.
So even though it's about to get cold and snowy, Barb and Charlie Reed say that newly finished deck will still be used this winter. In studio, David Aid, CBS 58 News.
Our investigation into home repair scams uncovered a mountain of complaints from all over Wisconsin.
And for many victims, there is no payback, no prosecution. CBS 58's David Aid investigates why and then goes straight to the Attorney General in tonight's special report.
Over the past year, I've interviewed several people who say they are victims of one contractor who goes by Pastor Dave. The stories are similar. They say he took their money but never finished the job. Just about every homeowner asks the same question: how is he not in jail? We took that question to the state's highest ranking law enforcement official.
I know what's happening here, and I know that what's happening is the DA's offices are overwhelmed.
Which means some contractors who rip off homeowners don't get charged.
Yeah, I think it does happen.
Earlier this year, I sat down with Pastor Dave, who former clients accuse of being a con man.
I feel kind of foolish for being taken in by that man.
It's not part of a con or a scam.
Pastor Dave has been sued multiple times by Wisconsin homeowners.
As some of the people in your story described, that this sounds like this person could sell air conditioners to Eskimos.
But Wisconsin Attorney General Brad Schimmel says suing in civil court is not the best option.
It's not a simple answer to say, well, these people have a civil remedy, because they do technically, but from a practical standpoint, they really won't get anything.
And some of Pastor Dave's victims found that out the hard way, not seeing a dime of the money he was ordered to pay back.
Do they have any other options?
Well, the option is that I hope we can bolster the ranks of the DA's offices so that we can address these things.
Schimmel says prosecutors are slammed with cases, many involving violent crimes, so property crimes could get lost in the shuffle. That's one of the reasons he's pushing so hard for more prosecutors around the state to help protect the everyday person.
And unfortunately, oftentimes, it's people who are ripped off in property crimes who pay the price for that by not having the help that they deserve.
Schimmel is asking for state funding so more assistant district attorneys can be hired and so experienced assistant DAs can be retained. This comes as work begins on Wisconsin's next biannual budget. In studio, David Aid, CBS 58 News.